Excellent.
Go ahead.
So we were pretty excited. Well, I mean, when we sent the initial email out, this was back in May, I think, was it April or May, to kind of start recruiting some members. We got a decent response. We thought it was about 20 to 25 kind of initially signed up. But then it was going into summer. People were shutting down for summer break and everything. And then we re-upped it here recently. And so this is kind of a map representing our spread already. Last I saw, we were at 57 members. And we were even so excited we got the newly added Puerto Rico on here as well. So that was super exciting. But I think we have every state covered, I believe, in the Southeast region, if I remember correctly. So pretty excited. And so here is where we would really like to just kind of get to know who's here. And so what we do have, just for time constraints, and so we can try and get to everything, just a simple introduction, if you don't mind. If you'll share your name, institution, and then I just put on here the school supply that you can't live without. And Julie, you think I should stop sharing? Because I bet it
You
will.
stop sharing. I think it'll put it'll
There we
put our
go.
students in the classroom. Perfect. Yes. Look at Lucy's face. Is this great? Yes. Okay. All right,
Awesome.
Doug, you're going to call on students one by one, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how to get to my list. Where did it go? Somebody remind me. Oh, where did it go?
Participants. It should be down on the bottom of your Zoom screen.
All right. Well, I'm just going to go from here. I'm going to go in order. So don't move your seat, everybody. Stay exactly where you are. So Anna, we'll start with you.
This is so awesome. You all are way more technologically advanced than I am. I would have no clue how to set this up. I'm Anna Gardner. I am at the University of Florida. So I'm in Gainesville, Florida. Let's see, an hour and a half west of Jacksonville, 2 hours north of Orlando. Hopefully, you're familiar with where those cities are at. I am an instructional associate professor, and I'm also our undergraduate coordinator for the applied physiology and kinesiology program here. Oh,
Awesome.
and school supply I can't live without is a really nice, fancy Pilot pen. These are my favorite pens. Write very smoothly, so I have to have these.
Nice. Abby.
Hi, everyone. My name's Abby Johnson. I am at Georgia Southern University. Before I made my move back here, I was also actually at UF, so I'm familiar with Gainesville there. But I actually serve as our one of our primary lecturers for anatomy and physiology and serve as our laboratory director. Our A&P courses are actually housed within our College of Health Professions. So we work directly with a lot of our kinesiology, exercise science folks, which it's great because that's what my background is in. And I love working with those folks and collaborating with how we can make sure that we're getting those students that are in our A&P courses really prepared for those upper level classes. And I also have my pen that we can't live without. Mine is our Sharpie S Gel, but I accompany that with my Post-it notes. These go everywhere with me. I have probably 3 or 4 different colors in my backpack and my other work bag, variety of them in my desk and our TA offices as well. So I understand a good pin there.
All right, Robert.
Hey, I'm Robert Heron. I'm at the University of Montevallo, which is a small public school south of Birmingham, Alabama. We're about 30 minutes south of there. We have about 2,800 students, so we're a little bit smaller. But we are Alabama's only public liberal arts college, so that's kind of our little stick. I run our lab here. We're trying to go through the early steps of ACSM accreditation or the KHEP. We just did the NSCA accreditation, and so I'm just interested in learning all the good things that other people are doing. And if anybody else is running into similar challenges that we are, being that we're small and wear lots of hats and have way less resources than some other places. For school supply, I think probably I would take a higher tech option, my iPad. If I have too much paper, it will just stack up and then I'll be drowning in it. And so I have to limit paper notes and things like that as much as I can. And I think my iPad is probably my number one school supply.
Nice. Ashley.
Hello, I'm Ashley Bruce. I teach at the University of North Georgia in Dahlonega, Georgia. That's about an hour and a half north of Atlanta. And I teach exercise testing prescription, lots of labs, have lots of TAs, and currently working on my PhD at UGA. And the supply that I can't live without is a whiteboard marker because I've got one in my office, and then you can't live without it with all the math from testing prescription.
Nice. Lucy.
All right, hi, my name is Lucy Patterson. I'm with Miss Marino at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I am a master's student. I'm a master's thesis student, and then I also am a teaching assistant for our anatomy labs, and I'm a teaching assistant for our anatomy lecture, and I am a teaching assistant for a pilot course called Intro of A&P, which is what my thesis is on. So I just have to plug it. But my school supply would be my computer, but specifically Google Calendar. I cannot live without Google Calendar. I spend probably like an hour on it every day, and it helps me not miss anything.
Awesome. Leadership team, I'm going to skip us in the row so we can get to the other people. Gabriel.
Hello, I'm Gabriel. I'm also another one of the master's graduate students at UNC Charlotte. Miss Marino is the one who brought us both here today. So I do research and teaching here at Charlotte in the graduate program. I'm mainly the graduate teaching assistant for our weight training undergrad class, but I also have taught our exercise testing lab. And then the school supply I cannot live without, I'm going with Lucy, is probably my laptop on Google Chrome, but it's going to be the tab feature so I can keep all 7,000 of my tabs open at the same time.
That's great. I like that one too. Ted.
Hi, my name is Ted Eves. I'm an associate teaching professor at Wake Forest in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and just named the undergraduate program director for the Health and Exercise Science program there. Mostly teach anatomy and physiology, but I've done a whole bunch of different things over the years. School supply, I would say the dry erase marker because even though I'm not very good at it, I use it all the time, but probably PowerPoint because I live and breathe on PowerPoints for class.
Gotcha. Braden.
Hi, I am Braden Romer. I'm an associate professor at High Point University. I'm also the director of our Health Science Fellows program. Primarily teach in biomechanics, sport performance, strength conditioning, sports science, those type of areas with it. And for me, my go-to school item is my backpack because everything ends up in there.
Nice. All right, Bob.
Hi, everyone. Bob Kowalski at Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina in the mountains. Mostly exercise physiology, exercise prescription courses, but I'm also serving as our co-ACE of KHEP undergrad accreditation director, if you want to call it that. School supply I'm in line with a couple other people. The dry erase marker, but multiple colors because within XPhys labs and XPhys lecture, drawing everything, explaining everything without multiple colors, it gets pretty hectic.
Deanna.
Hi everyone, Deanna Melton. I am I'm at North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I've been in the kinesiology department, and just last week I was asked to step in as an interim department chair of a department that is not kinesiology. So, and I know nothing about this department. So my head's exploding. And my go-to has become a written to-do list that I have to write. I'm constantly writing stuff down, and I'm taking colored markers and I'm checking off every time they get done. And there's not a lot of colored checks on there yet, but I'm hoping there will be soon. So that's my story.
Very nice. And then Jared, I know you said you were commuting. If you're able to, feel free to unmute and introduce yourself.
Oh, yes, I'm Gen Z, so I'm pretty good with technology, even when driving when it's not safe. I am a assistant professor at Morehead State University, which is about 1 hour east of University of Kentucky. And clinically, I am a physical therapist. So in my academic research and such, I tend to get to work with a lot of athletes doing things, and clinically with physical therapy work, I tend to work more with the neurological population. So I get to work with both sides of the spectrum, and it's a pretty good gig.
Very nice. Did I get everybody? Am I missing anyone?
Yeah, you've got two at the top. Jenny Frederick.
Oh, not showing up on mine. Go ahead if I missed you. I'm sorry.
No worries. Sorry, I'm on mute because this is my only chance I have to eat lunch. So I didn't want you all to have to watch that. But I'm Jenny Frederick. I'm a clinical assistant professor in the Department of Kinesiology at the University of Georgia. And I teach mostly students in our undergraduate exercise and sports science major and our personal health and well-being minor. In terms of a school supply that I can't live without, I gotta go with my clicker because I can't stay in one spot while I teach.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I get that one. Anybody else?
I think we got them all now.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Let's get transitioned back over and see what we've got.
And for those of you that haven't used that immersive view, I just discovered it last night and I was having way too much fun with it. I'll tell you where I found it in an email. Some of you probably are already aware, but I thought that was kind of fun. Okay, we'd like to share with you very briefly a summary of the key themes that came out of the member input survey. We shared this in some of our earlier emails. And I do want to say, in terms of member input, we sent out that survey, we got great responses, but that's not like a one and done. We anticipate that the things we want to talk about and the challenges that we face are going to change each semester and each year. So this will be an ongoing process of choosing topics based on what our members prioritize. But from this survey, we definitely saw some key themes. You want us to talk about how to be effective teachers and how to make sure our students are learning, strategies for retention, how to be creative and innovative beyond just lecturing, pedagogy and professional development, technology and innovation, obviously the ubiquitous topic of AI in the classroom, which is what our mini session's about today. Getting our students ready for certification exams, using open educational resources. So lots of great topics for us to choose from. And then we asked about challenges that you face, and there were a lot of key themes that came out: how to keep our students engaged, how to integrate active learning, how to make sure our students are retaining information as they progress through our curricula, academic integrity, and staying current, making sure that our teaching practices are relevant.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and transition into our mini session. Hopefully some of you are excited about this. I know Jonathan and I are excited to kind of present on this. I would be curious, if you will, I just thought of this, if you'll put in the chat whether or not you have used AI in any capacity and how you have. We'll just kind of track that just out of curiosity. If you haven't used it, maybe a why you haven't used it yet might be interesting as well. But some of the ways that we've kind of seen to use it, how faculty can do it, designing case studies and scenarios. I know we use a lot of these in exercise testing and prescription. Sometimes you only get so many through the resources. And so it's a great way to kind of get some new case studies and scenarios. Grading rubrics is one of my new favorite uses of it to really speed up that process. Creating assignments and discussion prompts. As far as students go, brainstorming ideas and outlining projects, practicing explanations and checking their understanding of material, but also generating study questions and review guides. I know I've had conversations with students on some of this stuff and trying to help guide them on how to use this. And so we'll kind of dive into some of that a little bit today, but we'll start with Jonathan today, that's going to start us off with creating rubrics using AI.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm reading in the chat, and there's all kinds of different uses that people have done. If you haven't used AI before, my biggest thing to say is just jump in and start trying it on some low-hanging fruit. Have it edit some emails, have it edit some papers, and honestly, admin work is the best thing. We all have committees that we have to make some document. Start there because no one reads those anyways. So if you mess it up, who cares? So when it comes to this, you can use AI for a lot of things in classes, and most people hate writing rubrics and all the different values and what those look like. So have it help you with that. And so the best thing to do if you already have an assignment, which we all probably have classes with them, start with the simple assignment. So here you have an assignment for one of my classes, Intro to Exercise Science. And what we have them do is we have them go figure out more information about a particular career that they can choose. In my program, I have nurses, dental hygienists, and all kinds of things from doctors and PAs or people who want to go into that career, PTs, and the traditional exercise science stuff. And so they get to choose a career and they have to learn about that from a salary perspective, schooling. They have to interview somebody. They have to talk about how they're going to get there by the time they graduate. And so here's the directions that I have, very simple. And so I start by just putting those into AI. Now, the ones that you're seeing on the screen for me, I use Gemini, which is Google's AI. Doug is going to talk more about ChatGPT. They all work similarly and have different features, but we wanted to demonstrate a couple of them. And so with Gemini, I put literally attached the directions that you just saw, and then I just gave it its prompt. I told it to act like me from my college, the class that I was teaching. And then I told how many total points I wanted the rubric to be worth, how many categories I wanted, and how many different sections I wanted. So 4 sections, 10 different categories to add up to 100. And I wanted it to cover things like grammar and overall quality in that rubric. I also, this is a big point, asked it to ask me a couple of questions to help it make a better rubric. So when I hit enter, it popped up with some questions for me, which were, what are the 10 categories you want? I didn't necessarily want to tell it all 10, so I gave it some guidelines. It asked me about point values for those 4 categories, so 10, 8, 5, and 0, or did I want to shift that? What were the learning objectives so it could make sure that those were met? And then finally, were there any specific formatting things that you wanted, APA or anything like that? So my next response was ordered number 1, 2, 3, 4. I told it I want these couple of categories: salary, detailed plan, career description, which matched that, and it can decide the rest. I don't need to think. 10, 8, 4, and 0 are great. And so we got into the rubric and it created this entire rubric. Once this rubric's here, I can view it, I can edit it, I can copy and paste it into a Word document. I can tell it to edit more. I didn't in this case, it seemed fine to me. So we continue to kind of scroll through those 10 categories. They don't all fit on screenshots as easily, but you can see those. We can send this out as well so you guys can look a little bit more at it. But when it comes to rubrics, sometimes we want to give those to our students directly, and sometimes we don't want them to have the exact check sheet we're going to use, and we want to give them something general. So I asked Gemini to go ahead and create a document that's student facing. They'll give them a checkoff list, but not tell them every point detail, because then it becomes too prescriptive. And lo and behold, when I told it to, it came up with a nice checklist to, did you cover career research, the interview, the personal career plan that they had for classes for 2 semesters, and should cover them. And so you can easily put that into your learning management system as well to give those students. And then that's kind of where we end. And so I'll let Doug take it over for his student assignment.
Thanks, Jonathan. So very easily, and I was going to add one thing. If you don't have the learning objectives already and you want them very quickly, upload the assignment and say, hey, make me some learning objectives for this, and it will give you some really good learning objectives right then and there. So another quick tip to be able to use AI to kind of help speed that process along. And so I'm pretty excited to talk about this assignment today. So this is my first assignment in class with my students to actually use AI. And yes, they were very shocked that I actually told them they could use AI on an assignment. And it was funny. They kind of had these like worried, scared faces, like, are you? And I was like, how many of you have used it? And I'm getting this little half the class. And then I was like, how many of you have accounts? And all of them raised their hands. So I know they use it. And so I'm trying to take this as, how can I use this to teach them how to use it better and more appropriately and critically analyze what they're getting out of this. And so this was to basically determine whether or not an individual needs a medical clearance using the ACSM pre-screening algorithm. And so you can see here, I provide them with the prompts to copy and paste straight into ChatGPT, and then to basically ask open-ended questions, kind of poke and prod a little bit, get answers to the questions, and you just can't directly ask them, do you exercise 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week at a moderate intensity, and have you been doing that for the past 3 months to determine if they are a current exerciser? And so to kind of get over there and see what we have, here's where we copy and paste. And we wanted to kind of show you a live version to kind of see how it responds. So I gave this person the name Robert, okay? And then AI typically says, sure, I'll play Robert. And so just so I don't have to be on the spot typing, I did try to predetermine these, but one thing you will learn as you play with this, it changes its responses every single time. So I couldn't be too heavy on the front end. So asking how it's doing today, I'm gonna do this to create a plan. Let's start out with some conversation. Can I ask what you do for work? You're trying, I tell my students, you're trying to establish a little bit of rapport with them, so kind of talk to them a little bit. I know it's not a real person. How long sorry, this is what happens. You've been doing that. And you can see that it's giving you some real life responses that you might see. Nice. What kind of hobbies do you have? This might start kind of getting at, do they do any kind of activities outside of work? Oh. Likes to play golf on the weekends. Nice. Me too. All right. And so as you go along, then you can start diving into some more of the specific health-related questions. And so, and if you do use ChatGPT, they really like making you pay for their service. So you will run out of their newest platform very quickly. But don't worry, it doesn't end the process. And so you can always disregard that. And so now we want to kind of dive into some health history. And so the whole point behind this assignment for my students was have a conversation with these individuals and get to the point of, do they need medical clearance without directly asking them? But we can see here, doctor says pretty healthy, no diabetes or high cholesterol. That's great. What kind of exercise have you done and previously? All right. And so we can kind of start getting at those questions surrounding, are they a current exerciser? Start diving into, do you have any shortness of breath when they're on exertion? And so you can really kind of see live what's going on when we're having this quote unquote conversation with AI. And so I did actually have my students do this assignment. Does anybody have a question they want me to ask Robert really fast before I close out of here?
Ask him what's his goal? What is he why is he coming to you for an exercise program?
What is your goal for coming to me for an exercise program? Lose a little weight, get back to a regular exercise routine, improve my overall fitness. So you can see you kind of get some realistic responses. And so I did actually meet with my students this morning about this assignment. They submitted it today to me. And so honestly, I got some really good feedback. Some of them, they really question, like, when we started it in class on Wednesday, a lot of their response was around, well, how do I really determine if this is exercise or physical activity? And how should I follow up this question? And I'm like, you just have to, I know it's weird, but just have a conversation. Like if somebody told you this, well, how do you determine if you're going to separate exercise versus physical activity? Are they doing it to improve their fitness? How are you going to determine what intensity they're at? They're walking their dog. Is that a leisure stroll, or are they taking their dog on a moderate intensity walk or jog, or a walk jog, And so just kind of diving into little questions here and there with that. And overall, they seem to really like it. Again, they were very surprised in the beginning that I even allowed them to use AI on an assignment. And so we got some really good responses from it. And we'll share all of this with you guys if you're interested in the assignment. Now, I will go ahead and preface this with I have a size 8 classroom. So like this is 8 students that did this assignment, because what they do is they then copy and paste this conversation, and then they have to highlight the areas that help them answer those 4 pre-screening algorithm questions. Are they a current exerciser? So what information did they use in their discussion to say, yes, this person's a current exerciser? No. That allows me to get to it quicker outside of all the other conversation that they have. You know, do they have current disease? Do they have signs or symptoms? What's their goal for their exercise intensity? And so you can see through their directions, they have to copy and paste that conversation, highlight those areas, and then I just go back and check. I do breeze through the conversation to see if it flows well. They're not asking direct questions. They're asking open-ended ones. Can this scale to a class of 200, 100? Probably not, because you're not going to sit there and do this on 100 students. But it could be just something that you have them do as an activity just to kind of practice. So I know that was super quick, but feel free to ask any questions, comments that Jonathan and I can answer right now. We'll take about, what, 3 or 4 minutes, you think, to field some questions about that?
Yeah.
Look, I have one quick question. I'm sorry, Jonathan.
No, go ahead.
Teaching classes of about 200. I think I could scale this. I think this could be scaled. You know, maybe it's not something that's graded for, maybe it's not about the accuracy. It's about the process. It's about communication skills, maybe working on some soft skills. Maybe they could do peer feedback. You know, they could trade the conversation, see how someone else might have taken a different direction. But I love it. Thank you. Go ahead, Lucy.
So I wanted to, because I was thinking about large class sizes, because the class that I'm a TA for is 500 students. So scaling to large classes is something that is always on my mind. But this seems like it's something that would be used in like an exercise testing or maybe exercise prescription environment. And we have labs for that. So I feel like that's a way to scale down the like large class size into something that is a little bit more tangible. Yeah, that's just my idea.
No, that's a great idea in those smaller lab sizes, because then you put the work on your TAs.
Well, that, and I mean, to be all honest, like when you're having trouble thinking about how something like this can be used in a larger setting, ask ChatGPT how it would do it.
Yeah.
Right. Like it will give you those answers. Something else I want to bring up with the rubric section and Gemini. Gemini will not export things to like Word, PDF, or other documents, but things like ChatGPT will. And so you could literally ask ChatGPT to give you the file to upload into your learning management system or documents to create without having to copy and paste. And punctuation and spelling and things don't matter as much with those learning management. If you go back to some of my prompts, they're terrible, but I leave them that way so you can see that you don't have to be perfect. It can be quick, dirty to get you the result. But yeah. Other questions? Yes, Charlie.
Doug, with yours, do you think, like if you had to scale it up, maybe not for hundreds, but maybe you have a class of 20 or so, could you ask ChatGPT, could you ask them, you know, I assessed you in, you know, Robert, I assessed you in this category. Is that correct? And see if ChatGPT spits out the answer that
upload their submission.
Category.
So upload their submission and see if ChatGPT can recognize whether or not they were correct.
Yeah, or like if the student says, I determined you were in this risk category, you know, in the pre-participation screening. Is that the category you had in your role play that you had put yourself into at the onset? You know,
sorry, Charlie. So like you're saying, would I upload this potentially into AI and ask it to identify for a larger scale of like for 20? I think you can. I think the downside and the limitation with AI is it's not 100% familiar with ACSM guidelines. It's not that perfect.
Okay.
And so that's one of the caveats I tell all my students is like, you really have to critically analyze what is coming out. This was very much just an introductory assignment because I can't, again, I know I have small class sizes typically, and 8's relatively small. Usually this is a class of 12 to 16. But it's just one of those things that gives them some practice because I can't get 8, 10, 12 random people that they can talk to. They don't do well communicating, with each other and trying to role play themselves because they're laughing and having a good time. And so it was a way to kind of give them this like role play scenario. And I went in and tested out multiple scenarios before I even created this.
Right.
And then I sat there and I was like, okay, now what would the prompt be? And then I remembered just ask AI to tell me the prompt that I need to make this assignment. And so one of my students made the comment that this assignment took the personal out of it. And I was like, that's an interesting comment because it really does. But at the same time, a lot of the students said that they felt more comfortable testing out ways to ask follow-up questions with this than they may have with a real person, because this is the first time they're experiencing trying to determine whether or not somebody needs a medical clearance. So, I think there's some ups and downs. Yes, it takes away the personal, and we know this field is very personal and relationship oriented, but they all felt more confident in their ability to ask follow-up questions after doing something like this instead of trying to learn it on a new person they're actually trying to work with. Bob.
Just a point of clarity, I didn't catch who said it, but you can export stuff from Gemini. If you have a Google account linked to it, you can export it into as a Google Doc, anything you're asking it to develop, just so people know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
we're a Google campus, so we have everything incorporated within Google, so it works really streamlined for us.
Gotcha. Yeah, it does do much better with if you have everything Google connected. Some of the other things like PDFs and getting into certain like styles for learning management systems, it doesn't. But yes, you're correct, Bob. It definitely will for sheets and things.
And I've had good success with asking it to like generate text files. So like if you have like Notepad or something like that, starting with a text file and then turning that into whatever you want to need.
Yeah, nice.
Awesome. Perfect.
And Copilot does well also in getting files and right there in your email, your Outlook, if you've got that. So any other questions before we move on? Very, very rapid fire. All right.
Okay, well, again, because this is a social, this is our back to school social, we wanted to keep the conversation going and sort of modeling this off of the last National Education Special Interest Group meeting that we had. The co-chairs just presented some topics and it sort of just prompted some organic conversation, people asking questions, other people offering solutions. So we wanted to open the floor to questions you might have about maybe it's related to the presentation, other uses for AI, or other topics that are important to you. Maybe you have something you're trying to figure out for this semester as you're getting started, and maybe somebody else in the group has an idea or an answer. And again, if we don't get to everything today, we'll capture your questions and prioritize them as we move forward. But so if you have a burning question, you can put it in the chat or unmute and just tell us what's going on. Go ahead, Bob.
I'll start in relation to all of our AI conversation we just had. Myself and another faculty member here at App State, we were planning to put in a symposium or talk for Southeast SEACSM regarding how we are leveraging AI in our writing intensive course, which is our exercise physiology. My question is, were other ones here thinking about doing something similar? And if so, maybe we should be in conversation to maybe kind of do some type of joint symposium. And we by no means are experts, but we want to share what we're doing, hear from others to see what they're doing, and maybe just help us all grow in this field. So I'll just leave it there and say, is there anyone here that was thinking in this realm of wanting to do a presentation?
Bob, I'm glad you asked that question because we also envision that being the role of the SIG is to help support people who want to present what they're doing and maybe get more active in the annual meeting and bring people together to collaborate, like you said. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think anything, I know Julie and I have talked about this quite a bit, but like we're all for trying, part of this group is getting collaborative efforts and bringing things like this to the meeting. And so, I think even So are you thinking of like specifically along writing intensive courses, or, could we look at potentially, we could also look at general use of AI
Yeah, I
in,
think we're open to all that.
yeah,
The conversation between me and the other faculty members started with the fact that we're both teaching this writing intensive course and like how are
yeah,
we using it within that course. But the conversation has certainly evolved in like, well, what all could we cover? How all are we using for ourselves within the classroom? And then sharing that with other faculty who are at this meeting, and then maybe giving an opportunity for faculty who are attending to share how they're using it. It's just a way
yeah,
for us to get these conversations going.
yeah.
That's what we're hoping to do.
I think
Yeah,
it's a
Bob,
fantastic idea.
for sure. I've got another colleague that we were looking at doing something talking about how to use AI as exercise science faculty in general, from research to teaching to service. So definitely, maybe we should connect and talk a little bit and see what's going on there.
Perfect. I'll put my email in the chat, and whoever wants to get in contact with me and maybe start this conversation. I know the deadline's not too far off, so reach out sooner than later, but we'll go from there.
Perfect.
Bob, we can also share that with the, like Doug was saying, we have about 57 members
Yeah.
in the interest group. So even if they're not here today, in our follow-up email, we could put that out there to the group and see if there's some people that want to get involved.
No other burning questions? Semester is going to be fantastic for everyone.
I have one.
Oh, Lucy.
So, this is a problem that Miss Marino knows that we struggle with. So I know that we talk about AI a lot and how we're using it in our classrooms, but I was wondering if anyone else was struggling with the inappropriate use of AI in the classroom, specifically for turning in assignments. I help teach an Intro to A&P course, which involves a lot of drawing or a lot of more active learning type of assignments, which then I have had a major issue with AI and AI submissions. And I was wondering if anybody ran into the same issue and had any like ideas for solving this problem, or at least controlling it, because it's almost out of control.
I can start, and this will just be a quick thing. AI detection software is terrible. It's not very accurate. It's not going to do a good job of catching that. It's a high percentage of false positives, that's actually more concerning to me, like saying someone's cheating when they're actually not cheating. So I wouldn't go down that route. I don't think using detection software or anything like that is the way to solve this issue. But I'll leave it at that.
I'll chime in here. We've kind of tried to approach this two different ways within our program. One with the, hey, we want you to use AI. However, here are the like parameters within which we would prefer you use it. Two, you need to actually tell us that you've used it. And if you don't put that, like, I can't remember what we call it, that statement somewhere in your assignment, we will like give you a 0. So if we come to find out like, hey, yeah, you totally just had ChatGPT do this for you. First of all, that's going to be a 0 anyways, because we don't want you doing the whole assignment through AI. Secondly, because you didn't tell us that you had chat help you with it, we're going to take off quite a bit of points there. So that's kind of one way. And we have this conversation constantly with the students. We understand that they're going to use it. We want them to use it as a resource and a tool, but we want them to use it in a way that's like productive and helpful, not doing the work for them. The other way that you can check, rather than using all the did ChatGPT write this software, is looking at the history within the document that they produce or that they turn in. If they've spent like quite a bit of time in that document editing and they've gone back to it multiple times and stuff, that's kind of a more of an argument for the fact that they probably didn't use AI versus, oh, they opened it, they copied and pasted something, and then they turned it in. Like, obviously, because they're probably not copying and pasting from like Notepad or something. They're going to be doing it in Microsoft Word or Google Docs or whatever. And that's how we've kind of helped a few students who were accused of using AI get out of their like academic dishonesty hearings because we're like, actually, if you look at the history, I don't think they did. So they can't prove it that way just by using the AI detection software.
Charlotte has done a good job of providing us with our legal department with suggested syllabus language and course policies, so we can adopt that language that really clearly lays out you can use it, you can't. When you can, what are the limitations? How do you, attribute what you did to generative AI. So that syllabus language is helpful. At least we're all using, or we should be using something kind of uniform around that. So I don't know if people don't have that. Again, this sounds crazy, but you could use AI to draft syllabus language about AI. So can I share? I'm going to share my screen really quick. I would like to share, let me see, replace current share. I'll just share my desktop. So this, I guess y'all can see this, was a submission in the class that Lucy's talking about. Students we were learning about membrane depolarization and sodium potassium pumps, and they had to draw pictures, right? Because we talked about it, they watched videos, and they're going to draw a picture of it. And so I kind of glanced at this, and obviously there were some things that caught my eye, but the student actually prompted whatever tool he used to make it look like it was on lined paper and to make it look like handwriting. So I really glanced at it and it wouldn't have caught my eye. I mean, if I looked closely, there's some telltale signs, but the fact that it looked like it was written on lined paper with handwriting kind of threw me a little bit. So I wasn't expecting to see that.
I think also this just states that, we as faculty need to be re-engineering our assignments that better use AI or ask these assignments in a way where the AI can't be used. And that definitely puts more burden on us. But if you're asking students to do something that can easily be done with AI, that's how it's going to happen in the real world, right? You're going to use that in that way. So if you're trying to stop students from using it in an effective way like that, then you're probably not having the best designed assignment.
And that's kind of the approach I've taken in my classes, and why I'm trying as best as I can to just go with it. And what can I learn about it so that and just instill in them as much as I can. You have to critically analyze. You can't just put in your client's information, and I'll try this next semester in exercise prescription with some AI assignments similar to what I just showed. But you can't just put it in and expect what it's going to spit out to be 100% true. And so, going through, I've talked with some people that, they'll do an exercise prescription and then have their students critique it. What's right, what's wrong, how do you know it's right, how do you know it's wrong, and just make them think about it. So it's a challenge by far.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Jonathan. No, go ahead.
Go. You're good.
No, I was just going to say to Bob and Doug's point, it seems like it all just happened very quickly, right? So we know we can use it. It's kind of fun to use it in the classroom. Students are surprised, they're excited, and making it a critical thinking tool where here's something that was produced. Now you go back to your evidence-based guidelines and see if it makes sense. But it just felt like it happened really quickly and we didn't even have time to re-engineer our assignments. But you're right, Bob, it comes down to the quality of the assessment that we're trying to do. Sorry, Jonathan, go ahead.
No, I was going to say along the lines of what Bob's saying, restructuring and things like that. I think some low-hanging fruit to teach students that AI has its issues is have them design an exercise prescription or testing protocol for themselves and make them do it. Very quickly, you're going to learn, is that effective? Am I killing myself? Is it not enough? Because those students will have to endure exactly what we're asking other people to do.
Well, if there are no other burning questions, we'll move on to our wrap up. We will, though, keep soliciting your questions and topics and things that are important to you for us to continue to discuss as we move forward. what's next for our special interest group? Well, we would like to, even today, get some ideas from you about our fall webinar. So we're planning for probably a Friday in October to host a fall webinar. Again, pick another hot topic that's important to you. And
Sorry.
That's okay. We have, Doug is going to put in the chat a link to a Google Sheet that's live. And we'd like to ask you if you have any topics that you think would be good for the fall webinar. Also, if you have any topics that you think that you would like to see for an in-person workshop at the meeting in February in Greenville. So the sheet that we're going to share has tab 1 is for fall webinar topics. The second tab is for in-person workshop ideas. So that's in the chat. Because again, we want to make sure that we're having significant member input when we're planning these events. So
AI difficulty right now. I'm getting there.
okay, that's okay. So yeah, if you click on that link in the chat, and then again, we'll follow up this meeting with an email with the recording, the link to this, the link to the member input survey if you didn't have a chance to do that. But so again, the first tab you'll see here is fall webinar topics, and the second tab is in-person workshop.
Bob, what you were talking about, I think would be great to put on the February workshop.
Yeah, if that's the best way to deliver that, I'm on board.
And we'll keep this document going as we move forward. One of our other goals for the fall is to, and this aligns with our vision for the special interest group, is to figure out the best platform for us to have a shared repository of teaching and learning resources. So whether it's an external Canvas page, whether it's using Google Drive, using our Southeast ACSM website, we're not really sure exactly where we want to house this, but we'd love, that's again, one of our goals. And one of the things members told us is that they would like to be able to share all these great ideas that people are having rather than recreating things. That's what we're trying to do is share with one another. So again, this will be sort of an ongoing thing. Our goals for the fall, we'll keep you updated on our progress. And then we're going to end with 2 more quick things. Another goal of our special interest group is to hopefully create opportunities for you to engage in service and leadership. We know we all need that as part of our professional development. So we're looking to spread the work of our SIG with 2 other leadership opportunities, a communications and outreach chair. And we also want to make sure we are hearing the voices of students and early career faculty. So we'd like to have a student and early career representative on our leadership team. So again, we'll send up follow-up information. If it interests someone on this call, please reach out to us. Last thing is a call to action, or 3 calls to action. 1, we're going to encourage you to try something new this semester. Deanna said to me in the chat that she has not tried AI. Deanna, try it. Just jump in and try it. Don't make huge changes to what you're doing, but try it. We hope you make some change after today's meeting. Try something new. Number 2, if you're not already a member of the National Education Special Interest Group, consider joining. And you can mark your calendar for October 22nd at 4 o'clock Eastern Time is the fall meeting. Jonathan is going to put the link to join the National SIG, the email for the National SIG, and the link to register for the webinar are all in the chat. So today you can jump on all of those things, and we'll send those in the follow-up email. Lastly, tell your friends. We had a good group here today. We have a really nice membership base. You are our founding members. So tell your friends who are Southeast members who are passionate about exercise science education to join our group, and we will do great things.